Hello, good to be here with you. Hope you've enjoyed that service. I just felt God's presence this morning as we were just worshiping Him and singing that song, Waymaker. I believe that God is making a way in our lives this morning and in a powerful way. And so as we just review for a few minutes what happened this morning, I would like to bring up a few questions that I would like your participation in. And if you could even participate with me in some way by in the chat room putting a word, that would really make this time together a little more interesting together. So please participate this morning by putting in just a word or something. When I ask these questions, I'd like you just to think about it for a second, and whatever word comes to your mind, put it down in the chat room. Don't be afraid. I'm not looking for deep answers, just some kind of interaction with you today. So the title of the message was Hungry for What? And here's my first question that I have for you this morning. Why do we hunger? Why do we hunger? Why did God make us this way? I alluded to it a little bit during the message, but maybe you caught it, maybe you didn't catch it. Why do we hunger physically, emotionally, in our personhood, even spiritually? Why is it that God made us this way? Here's some answers. I don't want to do all the talking this morning. Melody, because our body tells us that it needs food to stay alive and healthy. Yeah, that's a very basic reason why we hunger. Why did God make us this way? We hunger because we're not satisfied. Yeah, we hunger because we're not satisfied. Why did God make us that way, that we would hunger, that we're not satisfied? Come on, you're with me. Let's try and come to the conclusion of this answer here, this question we're asking. Why do we hunger? We're not satisfied, so we hunger. Why are we hungering? Why are we not satisfied? To be dependful, thank you. To be mindful, to be thankful, to depend. Okay, excellent answers, excellent answers. Okay, yeah, to live. Yeah, we hunger because we want to live. I mean, if we didn't hunger, then we wouldn't eat. And if we didn't eat, we would die. So why are we hungering? Okay, I never thought about the fact that God is the one who created hunger triggering us. How brilliant. Nellie says, so that we may stay connected, that we might be motivated for action. Oh, that's interesting. Action for what? What do you think God is trying to do by creating in us a hunger? What's He trying to? You know, if you never hungered physically, would you even understand what it is to hunger for God? I mean, if He made you that way, it must be for a purpose, right? There must be a reason. So what is that reason? Why did God create it to hunger? Okay, Grace. Physical hunger leads to a deeper understanding that we need a great desire for a deep relationship with Him. Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Grace. Yeah, the hunger in our soul, our hunger for approval, our hunger for affection, to be loved, are there for a reason. I mean, and so yeah, we want to create these relationships that will meet the needs of hunger, that we hunger for. Yeah, to be closer to God. Very true. So I think that's a great beginning question. Why do we hunger? And we have to understand that we're made that way. And because we're made that way, it'll cause us to understand that we must answer the cry of our hungering, because we must feed it on the right food, which ultimately is a spiritual need that God's leading us to, because eventually we won't hunger anymore. I mean, I think of the fact we'll have a glorified body one day, and that body won't hunger like we do now. We'll probably just eat for the pleasure of it, but we won't hunger the same way, because we'll know him as he is known. We'll be in God's presence, so it'll be a different relationship. But in this world, hunger is part of our life, and that hunger ultimately must be hungering for him, so we might be filled. And if we're not hungering, there's no way to be filled, because you will not consume and eat what you do not hunger for. Just a thought. Think about it. Okay, I got another question here for you. Make this a short one. What do people hunger for emotionally? What do you think of that? What do people hunger for emotionally? Okay, what are your answers for that? What do people hunger for emotionally? What are the hungers that drive people to choose, for good or bad, different things? Love, yeah, a good answer. Great, great, great. What else? What else do they hunger for? Affection, relationship. Yeah, good, good. Thank you for participating. It's encouraging to have you involved like this. People hunger for love. Yes, of course, of course. Yeah, we hunger for all these things. I think a big one is approval. You know, we're such in a performance society that we just want to feel accepted. We want to feel included. We want to feel, I don't know, that we have worth, that we have value, if you will. Some of those things are there. Okay, good, good. Very good answers. All right, let's go to another question. How can hunger motivate you? Okay, here's the question. How can, yeah, to belong, great, to be approved, excellent. How can hunger motivate you? You remember the four lepers? They were outcast outside the city that was under siege, and they decided to go to the enemy camp. But the reason they went there is because they asked themselves a question: why are we sitting here until we die? And so what is it that motivated them to go to the enemy's camp? Either they would be killed, or maybe they'd get some food, but either way they refused to die. So what was it? It was hunger, right? So hunger motivates. How can hunger motivate you? You're being motivated by hunger. Let's say hunger for God, or hunger for, how does it motivate you? Maybe this is a harder question to answer. When we're wanting to live our life to the fullest, we need motivation. So when you're depriving yourself of food, for instance, imposing a self-hunger in your life and focusing elsewhere with that, I mean, it's not just dieting, of course. We're fasting and praying, right? So what are you praying for? What is your hunger motivating you to? What are you praying for 2021? Maybe that's an easier question to answer. What is it that you're hungering for? And hunger will motivate you to that. What are you hungering for, friends? Tell me a little bit. In 2021, what are you hungering for? What are you fasting about? For change. Good. Good answer. Hunger motivates us to take action that will quench the hunger. Yeah. I think the hunger helps us to be more, I don't know about you, but I'm more alert when I'm fasting. It's like it creates in me a real focus to pray, for instance, or to read the Bible, or to worship God because I have a reason. It becomes crystal clear. And if you're fasting, you better have a reason. You just don't do, I mean, one could be closer to God. It's great. But maybe there's other things. Spiritual hunger, to be closer to God. Yeah, all those things are great. Good answers. But if you're fasting and praying, make sure that you put aside the times that you would be eating for focusing upon what the hunger is motivating you toward. You follow what I'm saying? Otherwise, it becomes just dieting, and we mustn't just do it for that sake. Okay, let's move on to the last question, and then I'll let you go. Remember the psychologist I read before there? She is an Auschwitz survivor, Dr. Edith Eger. She said this, and I just want to talk about this quote because it impacted me. I'm reading her book right now. I got it for my wife for Christmas, and so she hasn't been reading it because I took it over, but I'll give it back to her. It says, being a survivor, being a thriver, requires absolute acceptance of what was and what is. If we discount our pain or punish ourselves for feeling lost or isolated or scared about the challenges in our lives, then we're still choosing to be victims. We are not seeing our choices. Survivors don't have time to ask, why me? Survivors' only relevant question is, what now? So it's not about what me that my life should be just about, or why me, that is. Why did this happen? And some of you, I'm sure you have things that happen to you, you just wish never happened. Or you wonder, what's the purpose? Or maybe you're just saying, well, I've been scarred, I've been crippled, I've been paralyzed, something has happened to me that just affected me. If that's true of you today, you have to get beyond the why me to the what now if you're going to thrive in your life. Are you ready for the what now? I mean, this side of heaven, there are so many things we will never understand. And so now you have to ask yourself, are you requiring that you understand them before you move forward? Are you holding God hostage? Are you somehow justifying your paralysis because of the pain that you lived, almost allowing self-pity to overwhelm you? I'm not saying it hasn't been easy. I'm not saying that it wasn't difficult and it wasn't painful. But then eventually you've just got to accept it happened and move on. You can't keep living in that and letting it be the excuse of your life for inactivity and not thriving in your life. So now what now? And fasting is a way of saying, what now? Yeah, it's self-imposed. I mean, you impose it on yourself. No one tells you that you have to do it. And you're not trying to bargain with God. And you understand? You're not sort of saying, Lord, because I'm fasted now, all of a sudden you're going to answer all my prayers. You have no choice. I'm twisting your arm. That's not what fasting's about. Fasting is humbling yourself before God. And when you humble yourself before him, something happens within you where you start to seek him. And that's why Jesus said, some things in your life will never happen until you fast and pray. And it's a what now type of approach where you start looking and praying to God and seeking him because you're looking towards the future and not just letting the past determine your life. So as you're fasting, say, Lord, what now? And you're seeking God. I believe that God is going to fill that void inside. In 2021, what are you hungry for? Fasting reminds us of our need to hunger. And through the physical gnawing and growling and grumbling in our stomachs, it creates in us an environment to hunger after God. And so eventually we link the physical with the spiritual, and even the emotional, all are involved in a hungering process that God says, when you hunger and thirst after righteousness, you will be filled. And that's what we want. And that's what we're going after. And that's what we're going to get. And you will not be denied. I believe it today. And so there's a bright future, I believe, and benefits available for those who fast, are really hungering from God, for God. And when you're hungering, you can be sure that God sees, and it positions you to receive God's very best. Otherwise, you will miss out and you will sit down and want to die. But now hunger is motivating you and you're re-energized. And instead of, hungering sort of zapping you of all the energy, it's the reverse. It energizes you for a future that God reveals to you as being bright and amazing, filled with miracles and his blessings. Amen. Fasting is obedience, yes. What now? What now? Ask yourself that question, what now? And let God spur you on to a great new year. It's going to be better than 2020. Well, what could be worse? No, I'm just fooling. 2021, I want it to be the best year of my life. I'm shooting for the stars, believing that God is going to do amazing things. But I'm going to hunger and thirst because it's the only way it'll happen. Have a great day in the Lord. Hope these thoughts have kept you going and spurred something in you and encouraged you and maybe given you a fresh spring in your step. God is up to something amazing. And he says, faith will overcome the world. Have a great day. The Lord be with you. We'll see you Wednesday, hopefully at the prayer meeting. And next week, I'm talking about Vision 2021. I just have in my heart to talk about how God is calling us to great and mighty things in the days that lie ahead. Don't miss it next Sunday. God bless you.